Happy New Year and welcome back to the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm your host, Jayson Gaddis. What is up, friend? How has this transition from 2017 to 2018 been for you? Are you setting goals, looking ahead, or are you in shame and wondering what to do next? Or are you making the classic mistake of setting up New Year's resolutions with no accountability and not really factoring in your values and your compass and what's most important to you? I had a friend recently say, I want to get my finances together, and there was no plan, no accountability, and this friend, it just was way lower down on his values in the compass, so it's just not going to happen for him. So the challenge to him was, hey, you got to move this higher up, so you got to see how getting your financial life together will serve your highest value and your mission in life, for example. So you got to do the same thing in your relationship, guys. If you want 2018 to be the year that is different for you, like mind-blowingly different or just moving the needle a teeny bit, whatever. If you want this year to be the year where you have the most mature, fulfilling, long-term relationship of your adult life, you're going to need to move this up your values hierarchy on the compass. I teach a lot about the compass in my courses. Class 3 of the free web series, for example. You're going to need to move it up. Class 2. You're going to need to move it up. You can't prioritize everything, right? If you're trying to get in shape and get your financial life together and improve your relationship, all three are not going to happen. So no offense, but that's not going to work. You're going to have to pick one as the very most important thing and focus on that. And you got to look at, where's the most pain in my life? Where am I most unfulfilled, miserable, stressed out, unhappy? Is that in my health? Is that in my fitness? Or is that in my finances? And focus on one of those. If it happens to be your relationship, my bias is you're going to impact fitness and finances better if you focus on your relationship. Because once you deal with interpersonal stress in your relationship, you have the ability and the creativity and the space to actually address the other problems in your life because you've got someone at your back and your vibe feels good. You're more powerful together than you are alone. Think of 2 light bulbs versus 1. Okay, the light's just brighter. Okay, in this episode, guys, we are going to break down 2 specific things. I'm going to talk about my personal process with the podcast. I'm going to share a little bit about mistakes I made in 2017, things I learned, things I'm going to do differently in 2018, and how I'm going to improve things for you and for myself. And then I'm going to give you the top 10 list, my top 10 list for 2017's podcast. All right, so if you don't want to hear me share a little bit about my own internal process with the podcast, fast forward probably about halfway through to the top 10 list. All right, and we'll list that in the show notes as well for this episode. You can just go to relationshipschool.net/podcast 179 to get the show notes directly. And those will have hyperlinks where you can just click on those and it'll take you right to the episode that you want to listen to. You can do that right from your phone, okay? If you want to listen on our website here. Otherwise, iTunes, you just scroll through iTunes until you hit the number, right? All right, now, there's going to be some important lessons in my personal process. I want you to take notes if some of this applies to you. So one of my old habits is to think of others before thinking of myself. So the danger there is I run the risk of leaving myself and my own desire behind. All right, so here's a little bit about my personal process with the podcast, okay? This is going to be about 10, 15 minutes long here. So it's been about 2.5 years since we launched, and all is going well overall. I'm really grateful for your listeners, for you listeners. I'm psyched on the direction, and I've been a little frustrated at times with how I've shown up or the guests that have shown up or just how I've done it. So for example, last year at this time, I made the goal of 2 episodes a week. I don't know if you remember that. I said, all right, I'm banging out 2 episodes a week. One's going to be an AMA. The other one will be me and Ellen, or it'll be me and a guest. And I stuck with that goal even though it wasn't working for me till October. And I quit on that goal because it was out of integrity. It became no longer serving me. And I don't think it was serving you, but it might have been, but it certainly wasn't serving me. And if it's not serving me, it's not going to feel as good over there for you. So it was just burning out me and my team, and I was scrambling to hurry up and put something out as opposed to really sitting with it and delivering the kind of content that I want, I can get behind, that I'm really proud of. Instead, the vibe became rushed, and I'll just quickly do this because we got to get a podcast up because I said I would. I made a commitment to you people. So I run the risk of pissing you off because now there's less content. Or do I want to piss me off? So when something's out of integrity for me, I have to really feel into, is this working for me? And I might upset people if I change course. And I'm willing to upset every single one of you to be true to myself and just say, this isn't working for me. So I pulled the plug on 2 days a week, and it felt so relieving for me and my team. And it was a good move. And then I asked for feedback, and I said, guys, listener, what do you want to hear more of, less of? What's up? And some of you responded. We didn't get a ton of response, but enough people responded to start to pick out some themes, one of which was interview more couples. We want to hear real life examples from couples, more of this person, less of that person, etc. So anyway, I got feedback, collected it, and then I started to carry out and execute on some of that feedback, and it still wasn't feeling right. So toward the end of 2017, it just was not feeling that great. And I realized after talking with my friend Trip, who has the New Man podcast, who's also been on this podcast. It's a great episode if you want to listen to it, with him and his wife. Because Trip runs a great podcast, and I go to fellow podcasters for advice sometimes. And the bottom line message I took away from that conversation was, do what you want to do, Jayson. Stop always trying to make sure you please everybody else and do what you want to do. And I was like, oh, right. It's not very revolutionary, but you might find that you do this in life, right? You're trying to please everybody else, and what about you and what you want to do and your needs and what works and doesn't work for you? So it kind of was a wake-up call to continue to feel into what works and doesn't work for me. So in thinking about that, I'm going to change course a little bit in 2018, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to put me at the front and center focal point and what feels good to me. So that includes who I interview, because I've done some interviews over the past 2.5 years that haven't really worked for me, some of which I've published live that you've listened to, and many I have not. I did probably 5 interviews last year alone that I'd never published because I was not, either wasn't alignment with the guest, or I wasn't psyched on how it turned out. Either the audio quality or just the interview itself was flat, and it sort of lacked some juice. And there were more that I could have pulled the plug on, and I didn't, because remember, I wanted to meet a goal. As opposed to, I want to put out the best fucking relationship content on the planet out there. I didn't do that, and I instead made the commitment more of the priority than quality. So in 2018, I'm not going to do that. I learned a valuable lesson there. I'm going to choose quality and alignment over how often this thing comes out. So there might be occasionally a gap for a couple of weeks where you don't hear a podcast at all. And that feels really okay with me, because I want you to get the best content that's been thoughtfully put together, and the content that I think is going to serve the most to the general audience, given that I'm dealing with an audience that has quite a big age range. There's a difference in gender gap. There's people that are single. There's people that are divorced. There's people that are dating, wanting dating advice. And there's all these different needs and requests I'm balancing here. And I just need to continue to put my mission at the front and center of this thing, which is to help people with long-term relationship. And to do that really well, because that's what I'm doing in my life, and it's amazing what my wife and I have created, and I want to share what I'm learning with you in the moment as it's happening, and I want to interview people that are in that type of conversation, right? Okay, so that's a bit of the personal process there, and really psyched to do this year differently and better, really. I thought overall last year we we did really well as a podcast, The Smart Couple, and also getting a lot of you interested in the relationship school and challenging you to invest more than just a free podcast because you're going to get a bigger result. And hopefully supporting you and also challenging you to dig in deep inside yourself to get the best relationship possible, all right? That's really why I'm here. That's what I want to offer you, is exceptional resources and advice and wisdom and true life experience that's going to help you get what you want relationally over time, which for most of you is to be in a safe, sexy, successful, long-term relationship. All right. Most human beings want something to that effect. We don't want to be alone. So that's my task, and I'm psyched to deliver. All right. Now, one more point from the relationship school here before we get to the top 10 from last year. And this is my top 10. Okay. Maybe next year we'll do a vote and see what the top 10 is. And really the vote is pretty easy. You just look at the stats in my podcast program to see what's been listened to the most. That's fairly easy to do. And we have a current top 10 list on the Relationship School website that you can go check out. It hasn't been updated in maybe a month, but it's a pretty good estimation of the lifetime best, the most shared, most listened to podcasts. All right. And also I think sometimes I manipulate that a little bit with, maybe it didn't get listened to the most, but in terms of quality, it was by far, from people I heard and from myself, it was better than even the stats show. So this one is going to be my own personal opinion. All right. Okay. Now, the Relationship School is now moving to twice a year. So you can join us in January or September. And right now we are enrolling for people who want to make 2018 the year that you get this done. And it goes from late January through late October. And that's pretty much a full year. You may as well count that as a full year. You finish and you graduate right before the holidays this year. And it's going to feel really good when you go into your family system and you have yourself intact going into the drama of your family of origin and other settings with your in-laws, and you just have your own back, and you're in a partnership that has your back also, and you feel like a team going into these environments. So, plus, and you may be single, well, a lot of single people do this course, and it's for you if you want to do the training before you get into the next relationship. Okay, this is exceptional training. I'm basically giving you a psych course on how human relationships work and how to succeed at them. Okay, this is a deep dive into the psychology of human beings, how we work relationally, and how to optimize yourself and your nervous system in the best possible way so that you can set yourself up for success. Okay, that's what the Relationship School is doing. Of course, we have this side mission to help young people get this in their bones and to give them a path of connection where they feel like they can be true to themselves in the midst of their peer culture, because that's actually pretty hard to do as an adolescent. It's hard to do as an adult. So we have huge plans here at the Relationship School, and we want people like you. We want hardy people who are willing to invest time, money, and energy to be the change in life. I mean, look around the world, guys. It's a disaster out there relationally. For a lot of people, if you look, it's like, oh my God, this is how people do relationship. Look at our president, look at reality TV, just look at the way people act. And most of them are acting fairly immature and they don't know what to do. And it's not necessarily their fault because they got what they got from their parents and culture. So you become the person who is like a beacon of light in the midst of the chaos out there or the darkness. And you become just such a force and an anchor for other people, especially your primary partner or future primary partner. And you walk in a way that has a lot of depth and beauty and resilience to it. So that's what we're here to do, all right? And I want you to be a part of this, okay? If you're willing to step up in 2018, put your money where your mouth is, and follow through on this commitment to learn and understand human relationships. So if you want to get on the phone with me or Julie, our enrollment coordinator, you've got to apply. And we're still accepting applications right now. Just go to relationshipschool.net/DPIR, all right, for more on that. And there's an apply button. Just click that, fill out the application, and that'll get you a phone call with me and or Julie. But please only apply. Don't just try to do it to get on the phone with me because you want to talk to me and tell me about what's going on in your life. No, I want to hear from you if you're scared shitless and you're willing to invest in yourself, to increase your self-confidence relationally, to feel emotionally empowered, to feel psychologically resilient. Okay, if you want that and you want to show up in a strong way as that person, then let's do this. Let's get on the phone, all right? I want people that are not moving in the crisis department that are like, oh, I'm in pain right now, I better go to my therapist and fix this. And then I go see my therapist as a couple or an individual for a few times and I'm good again. Now I can kind of forget about my personal growth journey. No. I want people who are willing to roll up their sleeves for 9 months and do the deep work. It's like relational CrossFit with a bunch of other people where in 9 months you're going to be a relationally fit human being, okay? Because you have practices designed to have you follow through and you're going to get breakthroughs. The problem with the crisis model is you don't get the breakthrough because you keep backing away from staying with the work consistently, steadily, over time in a strong way in community. You're also not doing it in isolation in a silo. You're actually doing it with other people, right? Okay. relationshipschool.net/DPIR, right? And then remember, you can also come to the Embracing Conflict live weekend here in Boulder. Save the date, February 10th, 11th, and 12th, okay? I think hotel rates are still $100 a night, and you could get an Airbnb in town and come here and learn with us. We had 80 people or so in September, and we want a great group this time of people who want to learn conflict. So let's do that as well, okay? That info you can find on the website as well, relationshipschool.net / I think it's live weekend or Embracing Conflict, okay, one of those. Now, on to the top 10. Here we go. So here's the top 10 list I'm choosing from 2017. You ready? And this is in order going back to January of 2017, moving through December of 2017, all right? So episode 88 with Annie Lala on conflict. This one was really rich, full of lots of fun distinctions and frames. Annie has a really fun way of engaging in the personal growth path. She's very sophisticated, funny, and she just has her own genius here. And I really like what she's up to. So check out Annie Lala. That's all these can be found at relationshipschool.net / and then the number. So this would be podcast 88. The next one, okay? Stan Tatkin. And these are only in order of episode number. They're not in order of best. I'll give that at the very end, all right? So Stan Tatkin, episode 104, how to deal with an avoidant partner and relational stress. Okay, this one also is my second interview with Stan. It was awesome. Remember, Ellen, my wife, has studied with Stan for 3 years now. She's really got his work pretty deep in her body, and it's helping our marriage a ton. And I highly recommend Stan's stuff. So go listen to that episode. 116 with Stephen Porges. Okay, when I found out about this guy, it kind of blew my mind in terms of the polyvagal theory and what he's about. This one was on neuroscience and safe relationship. This guy's not a relationship expert. Okay, he's a scientist. And that's what's cool about this episode. So for you scientists out there, listen to that one again. Episode 134, Dr. Gabor Mate, Ayahuasca Trauma and Relationships, also an ambassador for the Relationship School. And his second interview, Gabor just really brought it. And as always, had these beautiful ways of talking about trauma, relationships. We spend the first half of the episode talking about ayahuasca and whether that's really a useful tool for you personal growth people, especially with the integration being so challenging. So that one's really good. And episode 140, 4 Masculine Freedoms. This is with Satyen Raja, also a second episode. This one is a really good one for men. Okay, so if you're trying to transition from work to being with your woman, for example, and you're a man, this is a really good episode. Okay, and I just really like Satyen and the work he's doing in the world. Warrior Sage, him and his wife, just powerhouses. 146, another Vancouverite, Danielle Laporte, Becoming Your Partner's Therapist, The Trap of Becoming Your Partner's Therapist. This one was really fun. Danielle Laporte's written The Desire Map, White Hot Truth, her latest book, and we just had a blast talking about personal growth, and I think that one was really awesome. 152, How to Repair After a Ruptured Connection with my wife, Ellen. This one was really good. We broke down kind of how we do repair, especially from a co-regulation model, so that one was awesome. 156 with Terry Cole on boundaries. This one was all about boundaries because Terry has some great stuff on boundaries. She's a therapist in New York, and we had a blast chatting. I was recently on her podcast in December. She hasn't released it yet, but that's going to be a fun one when it comes out. 158, Interpersonal Neurobiology with Dan Siegel. This guy's my hero right now, and I'm going to go visit his conference in March. And he's a really unbelievable pioneer in the brain, the nervous system, the mind, and human relationships. So it's a deeper dive, again, for the more techie relational geeks. This one's awesome. And then finally, 176, the one Ellen and I did in December on how spiritual people kind of struggle with monogamy, and why that happens for them. Ellen and I talk about our own spiritual challenges together, different paths, and where spirituality got us in our relationship and where it fell short. Okay, really good episode. So those are my top 10. And if I had to pick one, kind of a top 3 out of those, I would, for me, this might not relate to you, but for me, I get to talk to my wife every day. So she's like, to me, beyond the top 10. It's just like, she's always number one, because of how we do relationships. So anything with Ellen and I'm going to say is number one. All right. And then I would say second is going to be, just if I remember back to these, I would say probably Danielle Laporte, because it was so fun and we had such a great conversation about personal growth. And then I'd say probably number 3 would be Dan Siegel's interview. And then I might go with, it'd probably be a close tie for 4th with Stan, Stephen, and Gabor. So those are my picks out of those top 10. All right. So go listen to them, check them out. That's the top 10, in my opinion, from 2017. You might, here's your action step, make your own top 10 list and then share them with a friend. All right. That's your action step. And I'd be curious to see what your top 10s are, because they'd probably be radically different than mine. Notice how I didn't mention any episodes where it was just me, only because I'm focused on the interview. I could say, hey, these are 10 ones were awesome with me, but honestly, I don't remember which ones stood out the most to me. And I actually love what I say most of the time and what I'm bringing. So I'd say all of the ones with just me are going to be good, and probably a few really great ones. So, okay. Excellent. That's our fun episode. Just updating you, and know that this podcast will roll out not necessarily every Wednesday anymore. It might not. But know that I'm going to be more selective with myself, my guests, and I'm going for quality this year over quantity. And that's the program. You're also probably going to hear from some really interesting people this year, because I have a few on the list that are pretty powerful already coming that I'm like, wow. So I think you'll enjoy those. And they'll still be a good blend, all right? Okay, folks, have a beautiful rest of your day, morning, evening, and year. And be sure to come hang out with us at the Relationships School. Engage, invest, and connect. Talk soon.